Let's do it. Hey everyone, and welcome back to the Daily Dose podcast. If social media ever feels overwhelming, confusing, or like it's stealing all of your time, then this episode is for you. Today, I'm thrilled to be joined by Abby, an organic social media specialist and the founder of Tailormade Social. She has over 8 years' experience working with some of the world's biggest brands and now helps business owners create content strategies that actually work without the stress, second guessing, or the burnout. Today, we're diving into how to simplify your social media, post with confidence, and stay consistent without it taking over your life. Abby, welcome to the podcast.
That's the best intro ever. I just want you to intro me all the time, everywhere I go.
Yeah. Just do a little slow walk down the street and you're like, here comes Abby off to get her coffee.
Literally.
Yes.
I'll have about another 12. But
amazing.
No. Yay. Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited.
Oh, you're very welcome. Thank you for coming. It's just such a joy doing this podcast. I've really, really enjoyed it.
Good.
So to actually have you in the seat.
Very comfy seat as well,
good,
may I
isn't
say.
it?
Yeah.
They're just from home based. They're nothing fancy, but they're cute little ones. But yeah, to have you here, honestly, I feel really honoured because you do have an incredible background. And for you to be on this, chatting about your experience and happy to, not expose it, but happy to chat about it.
100%.
Means a lot.
Thank you. It's like I said to you before, I don't gatekeep. That's like one thing. I'm a serial oversharer. I don't ever hold back. I love helping people and stuff. So yeah.
Well, oversharing is the vibe here, so don't
Very
worry.
at home.
For our guests at home who are listening or watching, hopefully, can you tell us a little bit about yourself and your experience in social media?
Yeah, definitely. So as you said, I am the founder of Tailormade Social. So I started my business just over a year ago. So I hit my 1 year in January. But my last 9 years have been all working in content and in social media. So a predominant amount of my experience and time was spent at Man City Football Club. So I joined there originally in the editorial team, so working for the website. So I was writing match reports and I was writing feature pieces for the website. So my background's in journalism. But while I was there, I did a lot with the social team. So we were constantly, because I think what's important as well, so at City, we were the content team. So I think marketing, digital, and all those elements were separate from the content team. So content was editorial, so website, we had City TV, which was all the video, we had the photography team, we had the social team, we had a graphics team, all under this kind of content umbrella.
Wow.
But
a
load of people, like the biggest team, so many moving parts to it. But it was great because you get to work across all the different teams. And I ended up moving into the social team where I gradually then worked my way up and then was the social media manager there. So managed the social team. So creating content and managing the global strategy for not just Man City, but City Football Group as well. Mm-hmm. So every single platform, so you're talking over like 100 million followers, match days, men's, women's academy, also like you said about working with the brands, so like launching like the announcement with Puma when they partnered with them, which at the time was like the biggest in the Premier League, player announcements, signings, all those kind of things. So I very quickly realised that obviously I was working direct. When you're in that kind of space, you work directly with the platform, so you have your account managers. I spoke at Meta on their panels. They invited me to speak as an expert on content creation in social, and kind of you're moving through the part, and it's just normal. It's just every day. And when I kind of took a step back, and I had kind of friends and family asking me for like tips and advice and help, there are a lot of small businesses and a lot of just people in general that don't have that access. It's not normal to have that kind of access and that level of insight. And so I kind of wanted to take a step back, work out how I could help people or kind of share that experience and expertise. And that's kind of where Tailormade Social was born, because I wanted to bring kind of all that experience from my time at City, working directly with Meta and TikTok and LinkedIn, to then bringing that to people. Because what bothers me so much, and what I quickly realised, is there's so much misinformation out there. And there's also a lot of scaremongering. Yeah. And it really bothers me, because when I go onto Instagram and I see people like, you should never do this, or what if you're doing this is damaging. And it's like, there are things that you should take into consideration, but to scare people into thinking they're doing everything wrong, or they need to be doing this and they need to change that, it's just too much. And a lot of people, I'm like, where are you getting that from? Because a lot of what you're talking about is a load of rubbish.
This is what people have said to me before. They're like, I don't know if what that person said is the right thing to follow, or if what that person said is the right thing to follow. And it may well be, post 7 times a day, post 3 times a day, be consistent, all these different things. It's a minefield. And like you say, it's not, if you're running your own business. So for me, for example, I'm running Dose. I'm doing Browse, I'm doing the coffee shop. Then you don't always necessarily have the extra time to do the social media on top of it. No. I'm lucky where I actually enjoy doing the social media, so I do make time to do it. But someone who isn't naturally creative or doesn't naturally enjoy being in front of the camera, like that is absolutely terrifying for them to have to think of what to post, how to film it, and then what to write, and what the hell write down as hashtags. Exactly. What the hell's an algorithm? All these things that people go, I don't know what these are. That's exactly it. And I think that's what kind of spurred me on to doing it. Because I'm not saying that I'm better than anyone else and you should listen to me over anyone, but I'm just saying that actually if you look at if you look at my experience and you look at like kind of my credentials or my CV, I hope that you know that you can just trust me and what I'm saying. It's not that I'm saying that you have to follow everything I do. It's just that if you want some advice, it's there to take. But it is really hard, because when you are a small business owner or you run your own business, suddenly like you have a passion, but then you're having to wear all these other hats. So like for me, obviously I'm in social media, so I like doing that side. But like the accountancy side of things, like that for me, like that's awful, terrifying, hate it. I didn't sign up for that bit. It's the same with a lot of people for the content and the social media. You don't sign up to suddenly be your own marketing manager and content creator. It's just a lot. And that's kind of where I wanted. And like me saying earlier, like I don't gatekeep, and I don't, because everything that I do and I talk about is not top secret. You could go out there and find, it's just having to find it and pluck those bits. Actually hearing it come from someone who is a professional in social media, like that just gives it gravitas, I guess. You know then that what you're doing is what you should be doing. Whereas if you just go and Google it, and it may not be the right thing. So true. And like you're saying about people, like you don't know who to trust. And sometimes I'll go on and I'll see somebody who's maybe pitching themselves as an expert or social media guru, and they're saying, if you schedule your post, it harms your reach. And I'm like, where have you got that from? Because that is just a complete load of rubbish. Like the platforms have never said that. And actually they've said the opposite. So why are you now scaring people into thinking that they're having to do something a certain way? It bothers me when I see that. So it's kind of trying to kind of cut through some of that noise, I think. Right. It's commendable that you're starting up your business and you've moved away from the bigger, massive names, doing it on your own and helping out all these little people that need some help. And I'm also doing. I work on my own. I'm a solopreneur, whatever they call them. So I completely get it, and I get the struggles, but it's been so wonderful, like the people that I've met through it and the different kind of businesses and their skills and how we can come together and all help each other. It's just a really lovely community as well. So it was quite scary coming in, because I'm thinking, am I going to be sat on my own all the time? Like I have no idea how I'm going to like meet people, and it just happens so organically. It's fab. Yeah, and especially doing your content and co-working thing that you do. That's amazing. Oh my gosh, what a fun little thing. Yeah, so content and co-working was just, again, for people that hate filming, don't have the time to set up a tripod and film themselves working at their laptop, but also wanting to meet other kind of like-minded founders. I just thought, let's just pop it all together. I hire a co-working space, we all work together for the morning, and then we do little breakout sessions where I film them kind of doing their thing, or in like little mock client situations. And that is something that you don't realize that people need until you're then working with people and you're kind of finding pain points. And I'm like, I could actually help you with that. I could create something that would kind of fix those. It really is then tailor-made, because you are then literally speaking to each person about what they need, and then they're probably staying on with you to do more work. Yeah, amazing. It's great. It's really cool. Thank you. It's really cool. I think it's a great idea. Yay, thanks. So as we've said before, we've touched on already, social media can be a full-time job. It is a full-time job for you. Yeah. So someone doing it within their own business, is overwhelming, can be overwhelming, and can be a little bit too much. Are there simple ways that entrepreneurs can manage their content without it taking over their day?
Yeah, so the main thing, the main thing for me is always making things manageable. Like, it doesn't need to be taking up a whole month. You don't need to be kind of taking half your day out to do it. But getting the foundations and kind of basic processes in place is like just the best thing you can do as a business owner. So, and it sounds so simple, but having a content calendar or a content schedule, however you want to call it, is such a simple way to keep track of what you're doing. And it doesn't, because I see people again trying to kind of like flog these fancy content. It doesn't need to be anything.
They scare me. That's probably why I don't have one.
Yeah.
It looks enormous on their computer screen, and I'm like, how the hell do you fill that out?
Yeah, it is a mindful. And do you know what? A little, again, this is me, I don't gatekeep, but a lot of big organisations, and what I have literally used for like the last decade, spreadsheet, Excel, Google Sheets. It doesn't need to be a fancy software that you... And it's because I'm quite a visual person, so I just like to, I do it month by month. I like to just have all the dates down. I'll have a column of what the kind of, and it's only for me. If it's for clients, obviously there's more detail in it, but if it's just for me, I just have kind of a rough idea of what it is that's going out. So I'll just put like a little title, what platforms it's going on, and then I'll have a little box to if I've created it and if I've scheduled it.
Oh, amazing.
And that's literally it.
Oh, wow.
But you could do, it doesn't even need to be that level. If you want to do things in your notes on your phone, you can do that. If you want to, if you're more of like a notebook and pen type of person, you could do it that way.
Also, I technically do content planning then. I just write, when an idea pops into my head, I've got a section of my notes.
Yeah.
And it's just got like the details of what it is I want to film, and maybe the music I want to use alongside it.
Yeah.
And that's it. But
That's
I don't have a
great.
date or anything next to it. It's just my ideas. So.
Yeah. So I think just having a date means that you're kind of keeping that consistency, so you can see any, like for me, the reason I use a spreadsheet is because then you can really obviously see like some gaps,
Right.
or, oh gosh, I've done 4 this week and 1 next week, whatever it is. And you can do it over a month, or you can do it weekly. I do mine weekly, and like, it doesn't, people do it on different days. You might want to do it during the working day. I have like a nice Sunday evening and I'll plot out my content for the next week, just kind of visually.
How long does it take you normally to plan it out?
If I'm looking ahead for the week and I'm plotting out, I maybe block out like 20 minutes to just kind of really, and it's very top line stuff. I'm not writing captions for it. It's just like, right, I'm going to do a tutorial on Monday. On the Wednesday, I'm going to put out a piece about my content and co-working. The Thursday is going to be a carousel of the last month. And it literally is just very top line. And then I can take it from there of like, right, what do I have? What do I need to create from there? But it just means that I can see what I've got going, what kind of topics and themes they're covering. And that I can just keep on top of it on that, rather than having big gaps or cramming in, like you say, if you're posting every single day and then you don't have anything after that for 2 weeks. It just helps you keep on top of it, but then also block out that time. So sometimes I will, and if I'm filming, I'll block out half an hour where I'll bulk film everything for that week or that month, and I'll just get it in that time. And it also means that I can then schedule things in. So on a Sunday, I'll often plan it out, sort of spend 15-20 minutes planning it out. I might then spend an hour that like creating and actually doing the content and writing the captions, and then I'll schedule everything in. So I know that once I've scheduled things in, I obviously don't like post and ghost, but I'll still check in when they go out and I'll engage with people, but I know that I don't have to create anything for the rest of the week because it's done, it's plotted in, but I've allocated that time as you would like a meeting. Just block it out in your diary. Yeah,
time blocking is great. I was spoke to my first guest about time blocking, and it's like a game changer, massive. Just set out some time to do some bits and bobs. Yeah. And she was like, as soon as you set out that time, it's in your diary. It's gone. You don't need to think about it.
Exactly.
You know it's in the diary, and you know at 11 o'clock on Monday you're going to sit and do that.
Yeah, and it is about, because everyone obviously, and I'm so guilty of this as well. It's so busy like working in your business that sometimes you don't work on it. But it's kind of carving out that time as a priority, but also a lot of the people I speak to, where they spend a lot of their time is scrolling for ideas, scrolling to kind of engage with people, and a lot of your time you feel is wasted because you've spent lost an hour scrolling through stuff, whereas there's little things in place. So with Instagram, you can create a favorites feed, for example. So if you did want to create, I think you can add up to 50. So if it's clients or potential clients or accounts similar to yours or local businesses in the area, you can add those all to a favourites feed, and then you could give yourself, right, I'm having 15 minutes scrolling through the feed now, and they're my favourites feed.
Oh, I didn't know that they did that.
Yeah.
Favourites
Yeah.
bit is for.
And so that helps you kind of save your time rather than scrolling through and you're thinking, oh God, no, we'll just keep going.
Because you just get lost in the
can
hour.
lose so much time to it.
Hours passed and you're like,
Yeah.
I need to go eat something.
Literally.
Do you quite often already have the content made?
More often than not, I will have the content already there from a video perspective. So I have created, and this is something I do a lot for clients, I have basically a bank of B-roll for everything.
B-roll, that's great.
B-roll.
Talk about B-roll, because I
Yes.
don't think a lot of people maybe even know what B-roll is.
Yes,
But
oh my
it's
gosh.
amazing.
Yeah,
It's so
B-roll essentially is like supplementary footage. So it's in kind of social speak, it is content that you can kind of overlay things on that relate back to what you're doing. So like, for example, B-roll could be me chatting to you now without the audio, that I could pop on like 3 things that I've learned this week about XYZ. Yeah. And it's just having that base of a bit of a visual hook, something that relates back to it, that you can kind of have this evergreen bank of that kind of is relevant for, like, I'm still using stuff from like last January. There's stuff that I've filmed that I just keep, and same with stuff that whenever I'm working with clients or doing things, I will kind of pick out my favorite clips from that and have that saved in an album on my phone, so it's ready to go. Yeah. But there sometimes will be stuff, if it is to camera, so if it's like a specific tutorial, I'm like, right, I need to make sure that I go and film that. But I'll be quite strategic in when I'm planning out my weeks, like, right, like last week, for example, complete write-off, it was so busy, I don't have time to go and film something to camera and set up a tripod, do not have time. So actually, you know what, I'm just going to hold off on a couple of those posts for a few weeks, and I'm going to use what I've already got, because I know that it's there, and all I have to do is put text over the top and choose like suitable audio. But I kind of have this bank of video content ready to go, and then with my carousels and graphics, I have the templates already made. Amazing. So again, that's something that it takes a bit of time to set up to start with, but then you've got these templates that are ready to go that you just have to edit the text on. You might have to adjust a few bits, but I'm not starting from scratch every time I'm making content. So there's kind of, again, like what we were talking about earlier about those foundations and processes, they're kind of there, ready to go, and then you kind of dip into them as and when you need them.
Right, lots of business owners struggle with knowing what to post. How can they create a content strategy that actually works for their business, but keeps them from feeling stuck about what to do?
Yeah, so this is a really good one, because it's not a one-size-fits-all approach, because you see people kind of, and also everything with social, and I remember like my editor-in-chief telling me this when I was at City, like, you're not reinventing the wheel. Yeah. Like, nothing you ever do.
I've heard this so much recently, and it's so true.
Definitely be original, put your own stamp on things, do things that feel authentic to you. But at the end of the day, you are not reinventing the wheel. So it's just about doing things in a way that feel comfortable and relevant to you. But for me, it's more about the kind of personal element to it. So like everything I put out, I need it to feel like me and not feel like it's someone else's that I've just kind of done in my kind of branding and popped it out. And I think the big thing when people are kind of looking at like, oh, I don't even know what to make this week, or like, what do I even talk about, is creating, I mean, I'm not a huge fan of the term content pillars. I don't know why. It just feels a bit formal. But having a set of themes, like strands or topics that are kind of aligned with your brand, and you can revisit these as much as you like. So I kind of set mine out for kind of 6 months and kind of think like, this is kind of my focus. And I know that anytime I create a piece of content, it fits into one of those themes. And also when you have, kind of referring back to the content schedule, sometimes I'll be looking and I'm like, oh, I haven't had anything from that kind of theme for a while. I need to create something around that. So like an example, so my themes my main 2 things with my business is saving time and hassle. So with saving time, it's things like the kind of advice, the real kind of logistics of socials, so making sure you're getting the best out of the platforms. So that might come in with kind of condensing some updates in a piece of content. Saving hassle is another one of my kind of themes. So that is the kind of more practical tips, those tutorials that I was talking about, the kind of really showing you how to do things or how to do things in an easier way. And then my other 3 are like really simple, that could kind of refer to, like, other businesses could use these definitely, is my experience. So making sure that I'm dipping into telling people about what I've done and my past and where my experiences come from, because that ultimately like builds trust with knowing what I'm talking about. And then the other 2 are small businesses, because I'm a small business. So that could be like a silly meme around being a small business owner, or it could be pain points for small businesses that I experience or I know my clients experience, so kind of dipping into that. And then the final one, my services. Okay. Really simple, but making sure that I'm actually talking about what I offer and what I do and what people get from it. So they're not big sort of fancy, like, oh, I've got these huge planned up. They're just topics that I know if I create something, it fits into one of those themes. And I think having those for your own business are really important, because it just means that you can identify little gaps or where you might not have spoken about something for a while, and it just really helps you kind of have a bit more of a guided view on what to create. And whenever you are creating something or posting something, like I would always, like, I used to do this with every post that's, and bearing in mind we used to post like 15 times a day, like on a non-match day, so like there's lots of content going on, like, so even now I'm like, the thought of posting once a day, I'm like, ooh. But yeah, so every time I'm posting, why am I posting this? Just ask yourself before you post it, and it doesn't need to be that deep. You don't need to do like a big map, like mind map or a plan. It's just, what is this content doing? What is the purpose of it? Am I just like, the term like throwing up content or throwing out a piece of content is just like gut wrenching to me, because everything should have a purpose, even if it is entertaining or finding out a little bit more about you and having like 5 fun facts about that, has a purpose, because ultimately it's building trust, it's building more of a community. So everything has a purpose. So it's just making sure that referring back to themes rather than, is this educational, is it entertaining, is it, because all of those things can
stale when you think of it in that sense with the pillars, but the way you've explained it is so much more approachable and like more organic. Like you're a living brand of what you are.
Thank you. Thanks.
It's amazing. It's so good. Your Instagram comes across like that as well, like with you giving away tips and things like that. You're really approachable in terms of that. So you'd be like, because I think I would think twice about going to someone to go and say, you know, could you help me with marketing? But looking at your Instagram, I wouldn't think twice. I'd be like, oh yeah, great, I'll go to her, because she looks lovely, she's dead approachable, she's friendly,
thank you.
She's not gatekeeping.
Yeah, and also just like simplifying things, because there can be so much jargon around, like even like as B-roll, like some people don't know what B-roll is, and it's not being, and also this is like what I also find quite difficult with some like people or put themselves as like experts, is it can be quite patronizing sometimes. It's like, I don't expect anyone to know half the stuff that I, because
you're not trained in it,
and you're not going to be sat on socials all day. Like I do a lot of research. I still like in keeping with trends, and I go to different conferences and talks, and I still have like contacts at the platform. So I wouldn't expect people to know half these things. So when they come, they're like, oh, sorry, I probably sound really stupid. I'm like, you do not. Like, I would never expect anyone. So somebody messaged me the other day just saying like, God, I'm so sorry to ask them, but how do you do the voiceover on your thing? It's like, that's fine, because if you've never done a voiceover on your reels before, how would you know how to dive in and do that? It's absolutely fine. Yeah. You can feel a bit beaten up with your content sometimes. You kind of fall out of love with it. So then that can sometimes translate into what you're creating, because you can tell people like, oh, I just need to get this out the door, I just need to get something out to be visible, which sometimes can then leave you feeling like a bit down about it. And it's sometimes just talking to someone and working out, like even if it's working out those kind of themes or topics, can then give you a bit of like a buzz or a confidence about your business, and kind of make you excited to start creating stuff or talking about what you do, because ultimately like you do what you do in your business because you love it. So it's like how you bring that love across in your kind of content and your marketing and things. It's just about extracting the right bits and not making it too stressful.
That leads on nicely to my next question. You help businesses create tailor-made social media strategies. What are some common mistakes that you see people making, and how can they fix them?
How long is the podcast? No. And the thing is that I think it's because, and I always say, I don't actually think there is a wrong way of doing things in social media. There is technically no right and wrong, really. But there is best practice and there is optimization. So, like, for example, like if we're looking at Instagram, they do allow you to post wide videos. They do allow you to post wide images, squares, whatever. That's not necessarily best practice, but you could do it. It's not wrong because they're allowing you to do it. So it's just about kind of plucking out those kind of the best way to do things and the best practice. One of the things I so often see is people when they're starting their business or they're trying to sort of like level up their socials is they join every platform.
Right.
And want to be across every platform. And that is when you will burn out. You will completely fall out of love with it. You'll start kind of diluting what you're creating. You might start posting exactly the same content across where you then are looking like you might have watermarks on your content, which is then incredibly damaging for your reach. So it kind of has a filtering out effect. But like even me as a social media manager with my business, my main one is Instagram. I also use LinkedIn. I did try out Facebook for a bit, but I realized that actually it was taking me a lot more time. I wasn't really getting any business from it. I wasn't kind of getting the traction that I was on it.
The market's not really there, is it?
No, exactly. So for me, that didn't work. So I'm not going to then waste another hour every single week creating stuff for Facebook and scheduling stuff in for Facebook because it's not
a square peg in a round hole.
Yes, exactly that. And the same with, I think when people come to me, they're like, we haven't got TikTok, but we need to be on TikTok. And I'll say, okay, cool. Why? And they're like, well, because like everyone's on TikTok. I'm like, okay, but what are you? Because like for me, like one of the people I work with as well, so she's a dog walker in Norfolk. She doesn't need a huge following across. She's not going to get clients from TikTok probably. And it takes a lot longer and a lot more effort, and you're having to post more regularly on there to get traction.
You'll just get viral faster on TikTok, which is why they're on it. But it doesn't necessarily mean that that's
doesn't
into sales or your business.
No, and for some businesses it really works, and for some like product businesses it can really work. But again, it's just not feeling the need to be on a platform just because it's doing well or it's big. Because you're better to focus on one or two platforms, really nail those down, and then if you want to expand, then kind of branch out. Okay. But yeah, it's something I often see like, we've secured all the handles across every platform. Like, okay, what are we doing on all of these? Sometimes it just takes for the right time for them to contact. So it might be, they might have been like kind of lurking, seeing what you're doing. And then it's, I love a lurker actually, because it's like, they're still following along, and then when they're ready or they want to come to you, it's then like, I've been following you for ages, I feel like I really know. It's kind of like people are just sussing you out, and that's why it's important to keep building the trust, the visibility, showing up. And not everything you have to put out has to be perfect. It's okay not to be perfect with everything, and like done, sometimes it's better than perfect. So it's just,
my other guest said that as well.
Yeah,
just get it out there.
Doesn't always need to be perfect. And it's different if someone, so like for me, for my clients, I do want the content to be perfect because I'm creating it for them. But if it's you on your own, exactly. Exactly.
So consistency is obviously important. So many people, I think, do burn out trying to post all the time. We have kind of touched on this already.
Yeah.
But what's your best advice for helping people to stay consistent as well?
Yeah, so consistency is different for everyone. I think that's really important. And I think often when you think consistency, you think volume and quantity and a lot. Yeah. Consistency can be once a week. Okay. Same time every week. So actually, if you are just starting out and you are brand new to creating content, then saying to yourself, I'm going to post 5 times every week, it's going to be disheartening. You're going to get frustrated with it, and it's then going to do the complete opposite, because the consistency will drop off as soon as you feel burnt out and like you can't do it. So actually, once a week to start with might be enough. It might not be what these gurus are telling you, where you should be posting 20 reels in a week and 5 carousels. It's not always going to be the same for everyone. But actually, like for me, consistency for me is I will make sure that I post at least 3 times a week. So sometimes...
That's not loads, that's good.
Not loads.
That's totally manageable.
I'm a social media manager and I post 3 times a week. And I don't think anyone would say, she doesn't post very much for social media manager. Oh God, I'll bring that up on the podcast today, because I only saw her post 3 times last week. But sometimes I will post 4. But it's making sure that I have that kind of minimum. That is my kind of minimum that I post, and I will and again, it's referring back to that content schedule. That schedule keeps me consistent because I can anchor in those 3 posts, and any more than that is a bonus. It's brilliant, but I've got those 3 posts. And the same with like consistency isn't just your feed posts. When it comes to somewhere like Instagram, it also comes to your stories. So are you consistently posting on there? Because actually you might have posted twice on your feed this week, but you might have put a story up every day that all those extra people are seeing. So it's just making sure that it's manageable for you, and start off with 1 or 2 if you're just starting up, and then build it up. But if you're looking, if like your main goal is growth, you probably will want to be posting a little bit more, like 4 or 5 times a week, but that's only if your goal is like high growth and you have the time, maybe a team, people helping you. So yeah, just consistently looks different for everyone. So just making sure that you're kind of making it manageable for you.
That's great. That's really good advice. I love that. I was going to ask about the stories as well. If that's you need to be consistent on stories as well, and be doing the same sort of thing. Do you plan your stories into your planner as well? No, so you can do, and I do with my clients. But for me, because stories, and I always say to people, treat your stories like a VIP membership. So treat them like someone has paid a subscription fee each month to get something a little extra on your stories that they don't see anywhere else. So it might be me sat in my dressing gown telling you what I'm up to this week. People on my feed aren't seeing that, but you on my stories, you get to see that little insight. So it's very raw. They don't need to be these polished Canva graphics or anything. They can be really unedited, very authentic. And someone said to me, like, oh, why don't they let you edit clips together in stories? Because it's not meant to be curated. It's not meant to, it's not a reel. It's not meant to be edited and polished and like popping up this here and text popping here and there. It's meant to just be really raw in the moment. And that's why they're only up for 24 hours unless you add them to highlights, because they are those kind of in the moment. So I do keep consistent my story. I try to post, I mean, again, this isn't manageable for everyone, but for me, I try to post like between 5 and 7 times a week, and it might be 1. And like this morning, I just posted a picture of me, little mirror selfie that I'm here today. What am I up to on a Sunday? And that is keeping consistent for the rest of the week. I'm not having to do a full kind of planned out, like, oh God, I've got to create a story today. It's just those in the moment. That's great. I love it. I'm trying to be more in the moment with my Instagram at the minute as well. With stories, I want to do more talking to camera, talking to people, just general stuff, trying to not use filters, just be really real.
Love that.
All those things. I just put a story up about that this morning. So it's just like trying to be
authentically
me. Because I feel like the more and more I'm getting into socials, the more I'm doing a lot more of it, the more love I get back from people when you're just yourself.
So true. And I think as well with stories, they are your most engaged audience. Like the people that are viewing those are your people. They're your little community. So showing up as you and telling them things that they might not see anywhere else. And also that's why it's a really good place. I'm not saying use it as like sales, but that's why it's where you probably will see most conversion on Instagram, because people will buy from you in stories, or they might click on a link because you're talking to them and you're showing them, and it's in that kind of 24-hour period that there's also a little bit of urgency there. So there's so many elements to it that it's more than just you're showing up. You might be in the car and sharing people with your day, but there's a reason as to why you're doing it, and there's a reason as to why you're showing it. It's not just putting it up because I'm just putting up a story. There is an underlying kind of strategy behind it.
Okay, so for business owners who feel a little lost and they're unsure where to focus their time on social media, what is the one thing that they should start doing today to make their content easier and more effective?
It kind of bit full circle, but just start with the plan. So start with a very loose plan. Schedule, it could literally be just you jotting in that I'm going to talk about this service this week, and I'm going to showcase my Thursday networking event, and then I'm also going to create a funny meme. It could be as simple as that, but just jotting down a very loose and rough plan that then things can spark off from that. And blocking out time, I know that's technically 2, but that kind of comes hand in hand. So just setting aside time as you would if you were doing any other kind of admin tasks or anything else. Give yourself a little social media, little marketing bit, and it doesn't need to be long. It could be half an hour, it could be 20 minutes, it could be an hour, whatever is doable for you, but actually blocking it out and giving yourself that kind of time so you're not constantly dipping in and out. And that's when it feels like it's taking up your whole life, because you're constantly, I'll do a bit of this reel and then I'll go and do it.
I've started putting my phone onto like airplane mode when I need to really concentrate as well, because I just find notifications, if they come in, I'm like, I'll reply to that. And I just find it so distracting when you're trying to focus on something that you've blocked out time for.
One of the best things I did as a social media manager, as you can imagine, I've got lots and different accounts across lots of different platforms, is turning notifications off.
Right.
Because, this is, again, something that my editor-in-chief he always used to say, we're not saving lives here. Like, PR, not ER. Like, that's what let's just, PR, not ER. It's, nothing is that urgent when it comes to, like, realistically, you might have client messages or there might be something going on, but realistically, for you to be getting notifications all the time and that constant distraction or feeling like your life is being taken up by social media, by just switching off your notifications and then setting aside some time to actually go through it, just means that you feel like you're not constantly beholden to these notifications.
Someone comments on your post, for example, is there a time frame that you should be replying to that in that will help your engagement? Yeah,
so Meta will suggest like between 24 and 48 hours.
Oh, right.
So it's not
actually quite a lot.
And again, that's why people are like, if you don't reply within 15 minutes, Instagram will delete your account. No, it's like, they don't say that. But there are people that like fearmonger that it's like, if you, and where it's like, actually, they just say, just make sure that you're replying within that kind of 24-hour period, really.
That's totally manageable.
So manageable. And I post, I tend to post in the mornings, so I'll post like 7:30 because I have like a little window before I fully start my client work, or I have my coffee and I'll go downstairs and I'll sit with my dogs and I will then respond to people that are, but I don't respond, and that's why I have my notifications off, because I'm not then responding every time something comes in. So then I'll then maybe dip in the evening and then I'll say, oh, I've had, and you reply to them then. But as long as you're not just leaving them forever, that it's just kind of like, oh, I'm scheduling in and it's just like my posts are going up, because there needs, again, you're posting for a reason. It's because you want people to engage or have an interest in it. So it's just making sure you're not leaving them kind of hanging if they are taking time out to send you a DM or reply to your story or whatever it is. But it's just making sure that you're not feeling like you're having to just sit there and wait for the replies to come in. Always welcome.
Anything that you want to share with everybody, like where they can get in touch with you, what services you offer, and how they can get in touch with you, things like that?
Yeah, so I obviously have a website, but where most people get in touch with me is Instagram, because that's kind of where I'm sat most of the time. And you can find out about all of my services. So I cover a lot of bases, so anything from full management to little mini content shoots where we build those banks of B-roll that we were talking about, but I just come and do it all for you in like a few hours. One-to-one coaching, that's where when people come to me, so I had one person that literally came with like 2 A4 pieces of paper just full of questions, and she just used the hour to ask me every question that she had on social media ever, which is great. Some people want maybe help with how to edit reels. It's like completely, again, tailored to the person. So I have like just hour-long sessions that you can do online or in person. And then I also do social media audits as well. So if people kind of feel like they've maybe got a good grip on their socials, but they just want a second opinion on what they maybe need to kind of focus more in, I kind of offer that as well. But yeah, you can find me on Instagram at tailormade.social.
Oh, well, thank you very much. That has been
thank you.
Amazing to have you on the podcast. Thank you. It's been so insightful. I know everybody's going to love what you've said.
Oh, I hope so.
Please do get in touch. Follow her on Instagram. And get in touch if you would like any more information or more of a dive into social media. Get in touch and have some of the one-to-ones, because they're banging.
Thank you so much.
Thank you all very much for listening and for watching, and we'll catch you on the next one. Thank you. Bye.